Welcome to Ticker Talk with hosts Max and Kate, podcasting from TreeTown in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ticker Talk shares the everyday success stories and science behind the heart rate-based functional aerobic fitness training practiced at CrossFit TreeTown. Max and Kate explore the research, science, and practical experiences behind Ticker Training, a program developed by Max for just about everyone, your grandma, your cousin who runs marathons, and you. In this series, we'll explore what exactly heart rate-based functional aerobic fitness is, how what you eat affects how you move and how you feel, what tools to use in tracking progress, and how to fit training into your everyday life. Join us and learn something new to make a healthier you. Pace yourself.
What was that?
So when you work at your MAF, like your true MAF, and you do significant amounts of work, like MAP 9
And
training.
you say true math.
Like the one I found in my Pinoy.
Got
like
it.
where I know I'm actually burning fat for fuel.
Okay.
Versus carbs. And now I haven't been doing the CrossFit. I've been focusing on lifting. So I've skipped a bunch of those. Well, yesterday I really started back in and doing the GOAT and the CrossFit. And then I went home and had bourbon for dinner.
Yeah. Sounds nutritious.
It was really good. I woke up this morning really hungry. So I ate my standard egg for protein, and that didn't really do much. And then I ate some Brussels sprouts because delicious, and that didn't really do much. And then I had some almond butter, and then suddenly I had energy again.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was just the calories finally added up, because I worked out in between there, and I had lifted, and I did the CrossFit WOD, and I had zero energy.
So when you added some fat to your diet.
As soon as I added that fat in, I think that was one thing that I'm paying attention to that I figured out.
Yeah.
Well, I should have just had bourbon and
fat and almond
fat.
butter.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Bourbon and nuts. Like I'm at a bar proper.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Brussels sprouts and the other things that you consumed help provide nutrition, right? And energy in life. But
I didn't hit that I'm that's
good.
what I needed.
Yeah. Well, if your body is looking for fat to utilize as energy, right? You're not going to be satisfied, I would assume, until then. Maybe you're wrong.
That's my theory.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. What else did you want to talk about today? That was just kind of a random...
That was a random thought of the moment while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about. So one thing that I want to talk about is, and that kind of led into it, why all of a sudden gym members, CrossFit TreeTown members that have been doing our MAP work at their MAF heart rate feel invincible.
Yeah, they're feeling really good, right?
Right. So it's one of those things that I've noticed all of a sudden we've got a bunch of members that are searching for more.
They want more.
Right. And at first I'm like, and even they tell us I'm not getting enough. And you can look at this in a positive way or a negative way. The negative way is not very constructive in anyone's life, and it makes you feel like you're missing something. And the way to spin that around is, well, you are satisfied with what you have. Why do you feel so good? Why do you feel like you need more? Why do you want more?
Right, because let's define this person and what they've already accomplished that now is craving more, right? Because this is the person that you're saying, people are finishing our CrossFit workouts on a daily basis or for the week, and they're just kind of like, I just want to do some more stuff. Is that accurate?
Sure.
Yeah, so...
Bringing a new person in and telling them how our scheduling works. And I'm like, I've got a bunch of people that do both. They feel so good.
Oh, got it.
They feel so good that they do CrossFit or GOAT at 6 a.m. and then they do the opposite. They come in and do 2 in a row.
Yeah, but before we kind of talk about that person, let's define what exactly... let's take an existing member that is saying, gosh, I just kind of want to do some more. Let's look at what they've actually already done, right?
Okay.
So because they're not requesting more because they haven't done anything. Does that make sense? They're requesting more, not because they're not they're doing a lot. So this person that is requesting more, let's say on a Thursday, on Monday they did 450 double unders, and what else did we do that day?
It must have been 333 training.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
So we've had running and rowing in
Right.
there.
And then that same person has also done 300 wall balls.
Yep.
On a Wednesday or something.
The Tuesday before, there was a crazy amount of push press and barbell work.
We should have looked this up.
We should have. We sound very unprofessional.
Well.
Except that it doesn't matter in the end. Like, it doesn't matter what they did. They did a lot of work. You know, these MAP 8, MAP 9, MAP 10 workouts.
Yeah, they had accomplished a lot in an hour class. And now they're saying, I want to do some more.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of a monster have we created?
That's exactly
essentially, right? Well, and what's going on here is the volume of work that people are able to endure without causing them a whole bunch of extra stress, strain, and inflammation.
Makes them feel good.
Yeah, so they just want to move some more. This is a great thing, but it can also be, potentially damaging.
We can lead into this from the no pain, no gain. So if you're coming into the gym and you're spending an hour in the gym doing an hour's worth of work.
Right.
Andy cued today he was running over a little bit in one of his classes, so he came out and got the next class going. He's like, we got a lot to go. Like, come on, guys, let's get out there. Let's start warming up. Like, we have an hour's worth of work. Mm-hmm. So then to want more on top of that hour that you're already getting, you have to remember what you're doing, and that just because it doesn't hurt to move for an hour, that doesn't mean that you're not getting a lot of volume.
Right. Or that, you didn't get a lot out of it.
Right.
Because what's really actually happening is that you have created a really robust system that can endure and take on a lot of volume of work.
So we can take some of our either members that have gone away and come back. We can take new members. We can take members that maybe haven't done a whole lot, and we throw them into this. Now, the people that have been with us for this whole MAP progression have adapted to it.
Yeah, and are showing incredible amount of change and progress and being able to work at their math.
Absolutely.
Because the one thing that when you're doing it day in and day out and grinding away at learning to do this, it always feels frustrating because you're always training. But I want everybody like that is following along with this or doing this work, they need to imagine if we would have thrown MAP 9 and MAP 10 at them when we first started doing this, what that would have looked like.
Which is one of those things where, they probably don't see the coaches on the side telling new members, telling someone that hasn't been here with us for all this, or a drop-in, like, hey, this is how I want you to approach this workout instead, because everyone's coming in for their own benefit and their own workouts. But that's something that we definitely think about when I get a drop-in or somebody new. Like, I don't think, and you don't want to say, like, you can't handle this. They can't.
They might be able to,
but
in
until
the hour,
we get to know them, we need to figure out how. You can't just throw 480 double unders on the guy that hasn't done CrossFit in 4 months.
Or does CrossFit every day and is just dropping in and does CrossFit high intensity.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we're asking him to do an incredible amount of volume. That's potentially...
Funny story.
It could be potentially harmful.
We had a guy, he's a member now, that he joined, and he had been doing classic CrossFit. He's a very good athlete, moves very well. And we had a long effort, and he put the heart rate monitor on, and he was buying into it. And it was one of those, 30-some, actually, I think it was one of them that we worked the whole hour. Mm-hmm. And in jest, we watched his heart rate, and he did wonderfully for 9 minutes. And in 9 minutes, his heart rate started going up. He goes, look, it's starting to get up there finally. And then at 12 minutes, he's like, look, this is getting to be really hard. And he got it, and he kind of had fun with it. But we could see that.
He had in his current training, he had adapted to being really only able to do work for 9 to 12
9
minutes.
to 12, maybe 15, and then spreading it out. He even self-admitted, he's like, yeah, maybe we should, scale this, and this, and this.
Yeah.
And he understood exactly what was going to happen, and for him, it was really cool to see it actually happen, see where his training was. Now, I've watched him since he's become a member, and he's done some extra work at heart rate to try to get that volume up, the consistency of being able to work for a long time. And he's a great member, but it was fun to have somebody get it in the moment and then see I've got to step back my training to get to where you guys are comparatively to where I was.
Right, because we're about to do a workout tomorrow, right? It's triple threes, right?
Tomorrow.
I'm excited to see who all decides to show up to do this, because 333s, right? This is potentially an hour-long workout for people.
Can we remember when that workout came out for regionals?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was like a Friday, it was announced or something like that. And it was the next Saturday in GOAT. It was a weird rain day, and I had something planned outside. So we decided it was a quiet day. Maybe it was another weekend day. And we decided to just go and do it. And we were all really intimidated by doing that. Wherever we were in our MAP training, we hadn't worked at that kind of time domain doing those things very long.
Right.
I look at it tomorrow, and people are excited to do it because, like, oh, it's just a 50-minute workout. You know, it's just a MAP. It's another MAP 9.
Yeah. And
they think it actually fits in with our plan, which it does perfectly. We've trained up to this moment.
Yeah, they've already done 333, just not
several times.
Yeah,
actually.
just not in order, or without maybe a little bit of recovery time in there. So I don't anticipate the people that have been doing the training, even if they didn't do a lot of the 333 training, they should be self-aware and be able to get through that really with no real issue. Now,
Absolutely.
I don't have that listed as a MAP training day. I've got that kind of in there as a test.
I want to challenge people to pay attention to their heart rates while they do it. See how far they deviate from their actual MAF doing a workout that takes 50 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually wondered if I should just not put it up on the screen, but still
record.
I mean, you're not going to have any idea what they're doing out on their run, right?
No.
So it's not going to really equate to much for us. It might be nice to have it up on the screen just so we can help set them up for more success so they don't murder the row.
Yeah.
Right? So they'll do a little self-regulating, but the majority of people won't need that heart rate monitor. They'll have a really good sense of what they're capable of, how they feel.
Yeah, we force-trained pacing, essentially, by doing once-a-week training on this.
They're going to be very body-aware to know, like, what they're able to handle. So
that's an interesting thing there that, we can take this apart, and someone could say, well, I didn't need practice in rowing or running or double unders or whatever.
Sure.
The training in that way. But if I can look across last week of the other things that we trained, wall balls, we trained push press, this week we trained a ton of biking. Mm-hmm. We flirted a little bit with push-ups and pull-ups today, but if you cumulatively look, not even that far, but over the past couple of weeks of these long efforts of what we've trained, mm-hmm. they're all CrossFit movements.
Totally.
So
Done aerobically. And built an incredible amount of volume with each and every one of those things.
So I think we lose track of the fact that it may not feel like a CrossFit workout, but it's the same
But you're
movement.
training all of those movements.
Right.
So when we are ready to go classic CrossFit, your volume of repetitions, because, Fran is 45 pull-ups and 45 thrusters.
There's a chance that yesterday you did significantly more thrusters than that.
You did about 100. The average member did 75 thrusters, I bet, yesterday.
Today we did pull-ups 25 at a time.
Yeah, so at least 50 potentially today, just with the way we had it in there.
Right.
The amount of volume that people are doing. Okay, so how this all kind of ends up working, right, is you've created the volume to handle large rep quantities. Now,
Right.
Granted, when I throw 50 pull-ups at you in a row and 50 thrusters at you in a row, they're not going to feel good. Like, I get that.
They never do.
Correct. But what we're seeing with even like our Pinoe test, like before and after, especially with, say, Matt and Andy, is they're now starting to push off their threshold, their point of fatigue at a higher heart rate. So now, if they're able to pace just a little bit, even in something like Fran, Elizabeth, Isabella, where they're able to pace even the first 45 to 50 seconds, if they can keep themselves out of that threshold, they're setting themselves up for more success, because the average CrossFit athlete right now that has been doing classic CrossFit is going to be similar to Vaughn the other day that went threshold at 145 beats. right? So we are potentially setting people up for more success by holding off fatigue. And even if it's a really short workout, for, if it's a 3-minute time domain, if I can give you 30 seconds more of energy without fatigue, that is a huge deal.
I think about how we have a couple women that I'm thinking of off the top of my head that have what gym members say, like, oh, she has an abnormally low heart rate, resting heart rate. In that, what you just said is the same thing. So they're impressed with how much work these women can get done. That's just having a bigger aerobic capacity right there, right? Like they start out lower, so they have more room to get up to where they need to potentially transition. So, looking at that, like it's not the same thing. We're not trying to lower your resting heart rate, but we're trying to get you that bigger capacity so that you're not transitioning over.
Even if you don't have a low resting heart rate, because a low resting heart rate doesn't necessarily equate to a big aerobic system potentially.
Sure.
But the whole idea here is all of this MAP training, and I get where we're at with this, that we are at 30-minute workouts, and next week we've got a couple 50-minute sessions planned. And I totally understand and get the point of this is getting kind of boring. But the mindset needs to be understood that the quantity and the volume of work that you are doing now in these long, boring, kind of like quote unquote easy sessions. I love that the idea that biking 200 calories and doing 100 thrusters or more is now considered an easy workout.
Right.
Like I want everyone to keep that in mind. Like,
I used to be the weird one in class when we get a long chipper. Like, this is my favorite. Like,
right.
But you have to work for so long.
Yeah. I think we need to make sure that we're understanding now that we're doing that. Not only are we doing that and looking forward to it and handling it and thinking that it's a boring, easy workout, we also need to understand and realize that that's still a lot of volume. And yet people are now saying, I just want to be able to do some more. I want to work on some other stuff. Well, that's awesome. First of all, that you've built a robust enough system that you can do that without fear of injury. Because let's just talk about that for a second. I don't know really when the last major shoulder, hip, knee complaint, was, other than, the member or two that has always had a little bit of issue with that. Right. But let's just get that out of the way. Right. The change in that.
So 2 points
intensity. Bringing
us back around is, one, when you complain that a workout is boring, and I think that's been a very, very common out loud complaint across the gym.
And it's a valid. I completely can agree in some realm with that.
In training for anything, when isn't it boring at some point?
When you are getting really good at things and they're no longer just this fancy new toy or a super hard challenge to you, that's the path.
And you can relate that to anything in your life.
Totally.
Schoolwork or regular work.
This is going to be old hat.
Anything, right?
This is going to be old hat.
Now, coming back around to what we started out with, why do you feel so invincible? Why do you feel so good? Well, if you're complaining your training is boring and you feel like you're over it, then it's time to level up. It's time to
potentially
maybe like if it's
also a mindset, right?
It's a mindset thing. So
people get so drawn into this path or this feeling that exercise and training and being fit, you have to be sore and stiff and have be on the verge of injury to feel like you're getting anything out of it. And we're changing that. So a little bit of this self-sabotaging comes in, right?
Well, I look at it too I coached a lot yesterday, which was biking and thrusters, and looking at the body language of being on the bike for 20 cals. It took a little while.
There wasn't
the same like if I had told them to bike 5 cals as fast as they can and then, go do the thrusters and recover on the thrusters, the body language, or even not as fast as they can, bike only 5 cals. I think that the body language would have been different on the bike, and we need to start focusing on some of those longer efforts again in a positive way that don't make it boring. Like challenge yourself. How close to, 55 RPMs can I still have it? Make little mini goals in your mind that you're trying to meet. Like,
that's a great point.
Can I do this whole 20 keeping it at 40 RPMs without, or, look at the clock when you're doing your thrusters. Can I do a thruster every second? Does it take 5 seconds? Where can I breathe? Don't just think that because it's 30 minutes that you get to be mindless and feed into
Correct. Right. Yeah, you should be mindful about what you're doing.
Just because we don't make it short and goal-oriented for you doesn't mean that you can't make many goals within you.
Yeah. Well, but let's also give credit where credit's due, because I coached a fair bit yesterday and was in class, and I saw very little red on that screen.
I don't think we really saw any through the afternoon. People did phenomenal on that. They now...
Other than me, one blit.
Yeah. And
yeah.
For the most part, though, people did great. They knew how to scale. They knew
there was a 30-minute workout. Like, people need to remember what a 30-minute workout trying to do it at MAF would have looked like 6 months ago.
And the RX weights that you wrote for that were pretty much, and I love this, ignored. There weren't many people that could look at that. I don't think I had one person do RX in any of the classes I coached yesterday.
Josh did it in your class.
Josh did it.
Yeah, and Brian did it earlier.
But other than that, people looked at that like 30 minutes. It's only 10 at a time. I know I could physically do that. Mm-hmm. But, am I going to be able to control my heart rate through it? And
they understood
what's it going to feel like?
They understood training. We're trying to train thrusters to be less of a threshold workout. And if you're Brian and you're super strong, or Josh and you're super strong overhead, you are able to do 95 pounds and keep your heart rate in your MAF zone.
Absolutely.
If you're me, right, and you're not as strong overhead, or you just wore yourself out in the back squats, that wasn't happening.
And Josh on the bike wasn't killing it.
He was probably still going almost 60 RPMs.
Yeah.
And that's pretty awesome.
Well, he was doing that with just his arms.
Still.
But he was having fun. My point with the whole thing was everyone's individualistic, but he was having, fun doing what can I do with just my arms for this 20 cals? And
imagine, just think about what being able to do all of this work aerobically means. It means you can laugh, you can joke, you can, we talk about wanting to have a community, right? We talk about wanting to be able to connect with people while we work out. I just like the people around. Well, now you get to talk to people for an hour, and you're at the same time, you're doing all of this work. Prior, it would have been, 8 minutes, I'm the only one. I have no idea what's going on around me because I'm just murdering myself.
Right. Your only connection was the high five of, look, you're dying more than me.
Yeah, way to go. Right. So I think we needed to kind of have a little bit of a conversation around just...
Why isn't this enough?
Yeah.
It's only...
and also we need to be careful. We need to keep in mind, we're doing all of this work to develop this aerobic system and to be able to handle the volume that we're doing. We have to be careful. We are not invincible, even though we feel good, right? So now all of a sudden, I'm going to go do a whole bunch of extra work. I don't mind the extra work as long as it's still done in a controlled fashion, right? And hopefully that you're able to hold off fatigue because we're building your robust system so you can still do, even if you're not keeping it at your MAF in your extra work, you're still in this zone of control. Right, you're aerobic, so you're not exposing yourself to potential injury or overstress, right?
I wrote last night, we were talking about this, I said, stick with the suck, it's worth it. And because then we're going to go back and start getting the short efforts.
And by suck, you mean the boring suck.
The boring suck, or the mind suck that, we're just running and wall balling. Yeah. And then when we're doing wall balls, and it hurts because we haven't done an all-out effort, that sucks too.
Yeah,
but
that's
stick
training.
with it because it gives you an idea of, where you are and how you feel and how to break up and how to pace and what your body does and how you handle things.
Yeah, just being aware of the difference between what we're doing now and where we're going you're at a huge advantage for life, for competition, for anything. Just before, you had no idea. You didn't know the difference. I mean, I remember when we first started doing this, and people are like, I'm going at 70%, and we look at the heart rate, and it's saying 94%.
Right.
Right? That is the same effort.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes of push-ups, and, with a minute rest, and after 2 sets, 20 push-ups, I need a band.
Right. And now all of a sudden they're doing big volume stuff. So, what's our takeaway from this, Kate? What were we trying to get across?
What we kind of brought this in is, why do people feel so good?
Yeah, they're becoming aerobic. They're becoming robust. They're efficient at burning fat as a fuel source compared to previous. They're not inflamed from being overworked. Life is just overall easier. So
then coming in, a lot of people keep saying, why? Why do I need this? And it's just part of the training.
Well, and more so than just part of the training. Yes, it's just part of the training, but it's leading into the nitty gritty, the real, it's kind of like you've got to do what we're doing now, this MAP training, to earn the right to be able to put yourself through the fun stuff.
Right.
You've got to put the work in, the boring stuff, to earn the right to do the high intensity, to make sure that you're capable and that you can actually express it and that you can not get injured during it. Right? That's what kind of can get lost right now in all of this stuff, is that this is setting you up for more success for the future.
So why not then the 80-20? Why not? That's something I hear all the time. Why do we want to sabotage? Why? You feel so good, you want to add this intensity. You want to, I have a good aerobic system. I can, do these workouts all the time. Why not hit something where, 3 or 4 days a week we do the MAP 9, and then we test on the weekends. We do girls every Saturday.
Yeah, well, that's just slowing down your MAP training progress, potentially, right? It's kind of derailing you a little bit. I'm not saying that an 80-20 rule is definitely a horrible way to go. I'm just saying there's not very many people that are there.
So,
right? And also that 20% of hard effort that people are potentially wanting to add in is opening up opportunity for inflammation, stress, to take away from the following week of gaining a larger, more robust aerobic system.
So when we first started GOAT's kind of a pretty consistent MAP 8, 9, 10 effort. And when we first started that, we obviously in the CrossFit gym were not up at GOAT or at, MAP 8, 9, 10. But I had a significant amount of members that would do that anyway. And
you were doing a lot of that.
So we were doing a lot of this, and I can think of one woman in particular that has been very, she's always been a really good, you tell me to stick with this heart rate, I'll do it. And she's been very consistent in doing GOAT 2 times a week. And in the very beginning, getting through the CrossFit workouts, she was about the same. And now we're getting up into this, and she's doing phenomenal. She's doing stuff outside of the gym that she hasn't done in 15, 20 years.
And she's still doing it at her MAF.
And she's doing it at her MAF because she trusts it.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, and she's leaving me in the dust.
Absolutely. And it's, at first I would joke around, and I have a couple people that do go, and, someone's like, wow, you look really controlled while doing X effort. It was like a MAP. We were at MAP 7 at that point, and he's like, bro, it's the GOAT. The GOAT is the MAP 8, 9, 10. It's putting in that stuff. Those people were a little bit ahead of everyone because they had already started to build that base.
Correct.
Now we're getting everybody there, and they just don't see it yet because we haven't come back down yet. So don't sabotage it. Do what you're doing to build that base, and then it'll come back around in 3. You just have to have patience.
I am so excited for seeing how we handle map 5.
Right.
The 3 on 1 off. People are going to be like, 3 minutes is no longer enough time for me to get my heart rate up.
Yeah.
That's what that's going to be the complaint. And so then we have to make sure that we need to get a few assessments in our training right now, so we can get some more parameters. So when we start getting back down there, because people are going to be going really, really fast and feeling like they're not doing enough work, and yet they're leaving their old self and their old scores in the dust.
Oh, I kind of find that myself. Like, I can't go hard enough on the bike to get my heart rate at where I think it should be too. And there's a lot of complaints. And at one point I told myself, like, why would I want to?
Yeah, well, now the only way for you to go any faster is to get more powerful and more explosive on that bike. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just the way it is.
And you
don't have the muscle strength and the muscle endurance to push your arobic system beyond that.
And
what an incredible thing to have.
Yeah, right?
Right?
And we're finding that for the other people. Like, rowing, the 5K row time they've dropped. We've tested them without saying it's a test. 5K row times have definitely improved. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, the rower's recovery now. I mean, that's how you look at these other things.
Totally.
Like, a recovery run, 100 meters. What's 100 meters? Well,
Right.
Imagine if you only had 2 minutes to do all that work. You have 2 minutes. Your heart rate's going to stay down for a lot longer than 2 minutes if you've learned to control it for 20.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see, because I know prior to all of this MAP training, when I used to do 3 on 1 off really, really hard, I couldn't, 1 minute wasn't enough. Right. And I could look around to see the other athletes, and usually younger than me. It's time to go again, and they're at 50%, and I'm still at 82% in those days. So, it'll be fun to see for people like me that didn't have a fast recovery, an older athlete, and see the change, because I kind of got a little glimpse of it with Vaughn in his test the other day. Because Adrian later came and did the test, the Pinoy, same test as Vaughn, same effort, same output, same crossover, all of that. And Adrian's been training like us, and he walks in here literally 5 minutes later, barely sweating anymore, and ready to sit down and talk about it. Whereas Vaughn, who had a very early crossover in comparison, I didn't see him for 20 minutes almost before he was, and when he came in, still sweating, still overworked.
Yep.
So, there's that whole aspect of this MAP training. We get so focused on what we can do in the interim during the work that we forget about how quickly we feel good after, which is
how we recover,
which is leading to what we got into today with why are we feeling so good? Why are we feeling
because
it's not
we
enough?
know how to recover as well.
Yeah, we're just more robust. We feel better. So it's like, I don't have to go take a nap because I'm overworked. Hey, let's do some more fun CrossFit, because CrossFit is fun.
Yeah.
Right? And that's for people that are not aware of it, CrossFit is really fun. Yeah. Add the fact that you can do it aerobically without beating yourself into the ground. Yeah. Now it's super fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Why would you want to do it less?
Right. Right. Okay, Kay, that was a great way to end.
Yeah.
Thanks.